do you answer that question?
Tom Cruise has spent decades as one of the most recognizable and successful figures in Hollywood, embodying confidence, control, and heroism on screen. Yet behind the powerful image lies a deeply human story shaped by longing, insecurity, and an unending search for emotional stability. His personal life, marked by intense romances, high-profile marriages, and painful separations, has often drawn as much attention as his films. At the core of these relationships is a man shaped by a fractured childhood, driven by ambition and constantly seeking a sense of home he never fully had. This story is not about gossip or scandal, but about understanding how love, fame, faith, and fatherhood intertwine to shape Tom Cruise's emotional journey, and why, despite everything, true peace always seemed just out of reach. Early roots of emotional longing. Tom Cruise's understanding of love was shaped long before fame entered his life. Growing up in a household marked by constant relocation, emotional instability, and a lack of consistent support, he never developed a solid sense of home. Each move disrupted friendships and attachments, teaching him that nothing permanent could be relied upon. As a result, love became more than affection for Tom. It became a lifeline. He learned to attach quickly and deeply, pouring intense emotion into relationships as a way to fill the void left by his childhood. This hunger for connection made him sincere and expressive, but also left him exposed to disappointment. When relationships ended, the pain was not just romantic loss, but the reopening of old wounds. Love, for Tom, was never casual companionship. It was a search for safety, validation, and emotional repair. That intensity gave him passion and devotion, but it also made balance difficult. These early emotional patterns quietly followed him into adulthood, shaping every bond he formed and making love both his refuge and his greatest vulnerability. Melissa Gilbert and the innocence of first love. Melissa Gilbert represents a rare chapter in Tom Cruise's life before fame reshaped his world. At that time, he was not yet a superstar, but a hopeful young man still finding his identity. Their relationship was built on sincerity rather than ambition, on shared conversations instead of public appearances. Melissa listened to Tom's stories of childhood instability, his dreams and his fears, offering him something he deeply craved, understanding without judgment. For the first time, Tom felt genuinely seen, not for what he could become, but for who he already was. This innocence made the relationship deeply meaningful, yet fragile. Melissa sensed that Tom was searching for healing she could not provide. She cared for him, but recognized that he needed more than affection. He needed inner grounding. Their separation was gentle, without anger or betrayal, leaving behind only a quiet sadness. That first love stayed with Tom as a symbol of purity and emotional safety, something he would unconsciously chase throughout his life, even as fame changed everything around him. Heather Locklear and the shock of public attention. As Tom Cruise's career gained momentum, his relationship with Heather Locklear marked a turning point. This was one of the first times his romantic life intersected directly with growing public attention. Heather was drawn to his charm, ambition, and vibrant energy, yet she also noticed his emotional inexperience. Their time together was exciting and spontaneous, filled with bold gestures and youthful confidence. However, beneath the surface, Tom was still learning how to separate genuine connection from performance. Fame was beginning to shape his identity, and the admiration he received professionally started spilling into his personal relationships. Heather recognized that while Tom had enormous potential, he was still discovering who he was beyond ambition and spotlight. Their romance ended quickly, but it left an important lesson. Attraction and excitement were not enough to sustain intimacy, especially when public attention magnified insecurity rather than easing it. This experience showed Tom that love required emotional maturity, not just confidence, and that visibility could complicate even the simplest connections. Rebecca De Mornay and emotional depth. Tom Cruise's relationship with Rebecca De Mornay marked one of his earliest experiences of emotionally grounded love. During the filming of Risky Business, their bond formed through shared vulnerability rather than surface attraction. Rebecca sensed Tom's deep emotional hunger, shaped by a childhood lacking stability, and responded with empathy instead of idealization. For a time, Tom felt safe enough to lower his guard, sharing fears, doubts, and his longing for a stable life. This relationship allowed him to experience intimacy rooted in understanding. However, as his career accelerated, the balance began to falter. Fame demanded his time, energy, and constant movement, while emotional closeness required presence and consistency. The breakup was quiet but deeply impactful, leaving Tom with an important realization. Love could not survive without compromise and timing. Rebecca later spoke of the emptiness she sensed within him, a void success could not fill. This relationship taught Tom a painful truth. Emotional fulfillment and professional ambition often pulled him in opposite directions. Nicole Kidman and the illusion of a perfect family. Tom Cruise's marriage to Nicole Kidman appeared to fulfill his deepest longing for stability and belonging. Together, they became one of Hollywood's most admired couples, sharing success, creativity, and family life. Through adoption, they built a household that seemed to reflect everything Tom had missed in childhood. Nicole offered intelligence, independence, and emotional depth, providing companionship that felt grounding. For a time, Tom believed he had finally found permanence. However, beneath the polished image, differences quietly grew. His increasing devotion to Scientology introduced control and rigidity into their lives, creating emotional strain. Nicole, fiercely independent, struggled with limitations placed on her autonomy and beliefs. When the marriage ended, the loss was devastating. Tom not only lost his partner, but the closest version of home he had ever known. Their divorce shattered the illusion that love alone could overcome fundamental differences, deepening Tom's fear that lasting emotional security might always remain out of reach. Penelope Cruz and quiet healing. After the emotional fallout of his divorce from Nicole Kidman, Tom Cruise's relationship with Penelope Cruz offered a gentler chapter. Their bond was rooted in mutual respect, emotional sensitivity, and understanding rather than spectacle. Penelope entered Tom's life when he was still healing, offering warmth without expectation. Their relationship remained relatively private, allowing Tom a sense of calm away from intense scrutiny. However, external pressures soon emerged. Media attention, lingering emotional wounds, and public speculation placed strain on their connection. Though Tom expressed genuine happiness, the relationship slowly faded instead of collapsing dramatically. This quiet ending reflected Tom's ongoing struggle to sustain intimacy while carrying unresolved emotional weight. Penelope represented comfort and temporary healing, but not lasting transformation. Their separation reinforced an important truth for Tom. Emotional recovery requires inner work, not just companionship. And without resolving deeper conflicts, even sincere love can quietly slip away. Katie Holmes and the weight of control. Tom Cruise's marriage to Katie Holmes unfolded under relentless public scrutiny, turning romance into a global spectacle. Initially filled with enthusiasm and optimism, the relationship quickly became symbolic of Tom's desire for an idealized family life. Katie represented youth, admiration, and the promise of emotional renewal. The birth of their daughter, Suri, intensified Tom's longing to finally create the perfect home he had always sought. However, the influence of Scientology and rigid expectations placed immense pressure on Katie. Gradually, affection gave way to control, and intimacy turned into constraint. Katie's decision to leave the marriage was swift and decisive, prioritizing her independence and her child's future. The divorce was not just the end of a relationship, but a turning point for Tom. It forced him to confront the consequences of prioritizing control over emotional balance, leaving behind unresolved grief and a sense of personal failure despite his global success. A life of brilliance and emotional distance. Tom Cruise's love story is defined by intensity, ambition, and longing, shaped by unresolved childhood wounds and magnified by fame. Each relationship reflected a different stage of his emotional evolution, from innocence and passion to control and loss. Despite extraordinary professional success, emotional stability remained elusive. His journey reveals a powerful truth. Fame does not heal emotional wounds, it often amplifies them. Tom's greatest struggle was never finding love, but learning how to sustain it without fear, dominance, or emotional withdrawal. His life serves as a reminder that true fulfillment requires vulnerability, balance, and self-awareness. No matter how high one rises, the heart follows its own fragile path, seeking connection that power and applause can never fully provide.